The silent city sat quietly on a misty hill, hidden from the bustling world by a thick veil of fog. Tourists whispered about the city's strange silence, as if even the wind had promised to keep secrets. With every step, they found themselves wrapped in the soft hush of the stone streets. As they walked deeper, a guide appeared from the mist, his voice barely louder than a whisper. "Welcome to the silent city," he murmured, pointing to the towering structures around them. The buildings were old but beautifully preserved, each holding its own story in silence. "This place is like a museum of whispers," a visitor joked, though nobody laughed too loudly. Even the animals here moved in quietude, birds fluttering without a single chirp. A young boy asked, "Is there a rule against noise?" The guide only nodded, explaining that the city cherished peace above all. "But surely laughter is allowed?" a woman asked with a smile, finding humor in the city's unusual calm. "Laughter is best shared in quiet places," the guide said, his own smile a silent reassurance. They continued along cobblestone paths where flowers bloomed in colorful, hushed beauty. The buildings looked grander as they walked further, each a monument to time and tranquility. At a square, a group of monks meditated, unmoving as statues, their calmness contagious. "This place feels like a sanctuary," one tourist whispered, reluctant to disturb the peace. Yet there was an air of mischief as well, the sort that comes with secrets. An older traveler winked and said, "I bet there's a story behind every brick here." The guide laughed softly, leading them to a grand library with endless rows of ancient books. "This is the heart of the city," he said, inviting them to wander among the shelves. Despite the silence, every book seemed to hum with energy, inviting curious hands to open them. A young woman picked up a dusty volume, enchanted by the old script. "Do these books hold the city's secrets?" she asked, her eyes bright with wonder. "Indeed," the guide said, "but they are secrets meant to inspire, not haunt." They continued to a garden, lush and filled with colors that seemed to speak louder than words. A couple marveled at the silent fountains, watching water pour with a hushed elegance. "It's like the city itself is listening," one man said, his voice barely above a whisper. They spotted a curious plaque reading, "In silence, strength finds its voice." The group found this sentiment fitting, each taking it in with a nod of respect. They reached an open plaza with sculptures of ancient heroes and wise philosophers. "I feel like I'm meeting ghosts," one tourist chuckled, amused by the lifelike statues. "Ghosts that teach rather than haunt," the guide remarked, his voice a comforting lull. Each statue had a unique expression, as if they'd all been frozen mid-thought. They passed by a bakery that served pastries in absolute silence. The pastries were delicious, though the baker communicated only with nods and gestures. "This must be the only bakery where crumbs make more noise than the bakers," joked a tourist. Even their laughter felt subdued, respectful of the peaceful surroundings. They moved on to a lookout, where they could see the entire city cloaked in calm beauty. "If cities had personalities, this one would be the wise old sage," someone whispered. The guide took them to a serene lake, reflecting the gray skies and silent trees. A bird swooped down, creating ripples that moved gently across the water. "Every sound feels magnified here," a young man noted, struck by the soft splash. A sign near the lake read, "Find strength in stillness." The words resonated with them, each visitor feeling a newfound calmness inside. "This place feels like a meditation," a woman remarked, closing her eyes to breathe it all in. The guide led them to an ancient clock tower that hadn't ticked in centuries. "Why doesn't it chime?" someone asked, marveling at the silence. "Time pauses in the silent city," the guide replied, his smile wise and knowing. They moved to a small marketplace where vendors exchanged goods without a word. Every trade was done in gestures, with even the children playing in quiet joy. "How do people here stay so calm?" asked a visitor, bemused by the stillness. "It's a way of life," the guide answered, proud of his city's unique culture. They stopped at a mural painted in rich colors, telling the story of the city's founding. "A city that values silence," the guide explained, "finds harmony even in chaos." The visitors stood, admiring the art in respectful silence. They realized the city wasn't just quiet, it was a sanctuary for reflection. Each felt a sense of peace, as if they'd found a place to truly unwind. "I've never felt so calm in a city," one tourist whispered, looking around in awe. "Silence speaks louder here than any noise ever could," said another. The group followed the guide to a towering monument honoring past leaders. Flowers adorned the base, placed carefully by unseen hands. "This city is one long breath," someone mused, appreciating the serene atmosphere. The guide nodded, a silent affirmation of the city's quiet power. They passed a school where children studied in complete focus, no chatter or noise. "The young here learn in silence," the guide explained, "to cultivate inner strength." The tourists shared an unspoken agreement they'd never seen anything quite like this. They watched as children practiced gentle movements, mimicking the city's calm. A plaque on the school wall read, "The loudest victories are those within." A man chuckled, saying, "I wish my office had such a motto." They reached a high point overlooking the city's scenic landscape, serene and untouched. The wind blew softly, and the trees swayed, as if in a silent dance. A child in the group giggled, breaking the silence with a joyful sound. The guide smiled, a rare acknowledgement of sound in the city. "Laughter is a gift," he said softly, "but here we use it sparingly." The tourists took this in, each nodding as they watched the horizon. They descended into a quiet temple, where monks meditated without a sound. The air felt thick with peace, as if the silence itself were a sacred force. "This city doesn't need words," one woman whispered, overwhelmed by the quiet beauty. They reached a tranquil garden, where statues of animals stood, frozen yet lifelike. Each animal seemed poised to move, as if the city's calm had enchanted them. The guide told them, "Legends say the animals are guardians of the silent city." A tourist patted a statue, joking, "Good guard dog." Everyone stifled a laugh, unwilling to break the atmosphere with loudness. The guide took them to a fountain, its water sparkling quietly under the sun. "This fountain grants peace to those who listen closely," he said, voice barely a murmur. Each tourist dipped a hand, feeling the cool water soothe their spirits. "This city is like a spa for the soul," someone said, smiling softly. They gathered at the exit, hearts filled with an inexplicable calm. The guide looked at them and said, "The silent city's gift is yours to carry." They realized that the city's peace had worked its way into their hearts. "I'll miss this place," one whispered, knowing they'd never forget the experience. With a final look back, they began their journey home, changed by the silence. Each step away felt like leaving a dream, yet the peace lingered within. "I've never felt so at home," someone said quietly, as if to not disturb the memory. The city watched them leave, its silence deeper than any goodbye. They promised to remember the tranquility they'd found here, hoping to bring it back. As they disappeared from view, the silent city returned to its timeless calm. Birds flew quietly overhead, as if respecting the city's eternal peace. In the stillness, the city waited for new visitors to share its secrets. And so, the silent city continued its quiet existence, a haven for the weary soul.